In today's episode, how Mrs. Reliable got her douchebag of a boss fired. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. How Mrs. Reliable got her douchebag of a boss fired. Hey everyone. Long time lurker on this subreddit, first time posting, and boy do I have a story. So, letting everyone know that it's going to be a long post. Just letting everyone know ahead of time. Background. I've been working the retail business for over 20 years, and let me tell you, some of the managers they hire I can do a better job. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. Over the years of doing retail, I have established a reputation for myself. I'm Mrs. Reliable. Need some to come in? They call me. Need someone to stay late? They call me. Need to switch with someone because management said no for your day off? They call me. Need to switch with someone because of a last-minute plans? They call me. You can probably see where this story might be going, right? This story takes place a couple of years ago when I worked a major grocery store in my town/city as a cashier. The story. This has taken place a couple of years ago, back in 2020. I'm on my 2 years at this store, and we went through so many people and managers it wasn't funny. Literally, it felt like we had a revolving door with how much turnover in employment we had. Getting back to the story, I was a cashier, and the thing about me doing this job is that I have a tendency to be too good at my job. I was just hired to be a cashier. I was not a manager, nor a monitor, someone that is a step down from management, but doesn't have all the responsibilities of management, nor was a customer service. However, I was trained for nearly all the duties of someone who is. Need change? I went to cashier, got the money out of the drawer, and went to grab the change that they needed. Need an override? I came over, see what the problem is, and did the override. Need something from behind the counter? I just need to know what it is that you need, and I went and grabbed it. I did all this on top of my cashier duties and self-checkout duties. Then Douchebag came along. My manager at the time, let's call her Ashley. Ashley is the front-end manager, meaning she's in charge of everything that goes on at the registers, cash office, where all the money is, customer service, and the self-checkouts. Now, I liked Ashley. She was a really good boss, and I liked working with her. Ashley had gotten pregnant and was expecting her second child. I was excited for her. Unfortunately, when Ashley came back, though, she was no longer going to be a manager, nor was she going to full-time. She decided to come back as part-time. I can't really blame her though. You're working 40 hours a week and are not allowed any overtime whatsoever. Plus, you can be working as early as 5 a.m. to working as late as whenever the last customer decides to leave. Last time that happened when didn't get out until 11:15 p.m. Enter Douchebag. If you ever wonder what happened to that spoiled brat in school whose mommy never said no and always got what they always wanted, that's Douchebag all grown up in a manager's position. Douchebag was the type of manager that if he told you do something, he expected you to do it without any questions. Have plans after work? Douchebag expected you to whip out your phone right there and then, cancel your plans and come into work. Have a doctor's appointment? Douchebag expected to cancel that appointment and then come into work. If you told him no, he would say in the most condescending tone, "Well, I need you to do anyway." And then just standing there scowling at you the whole time. Basically trying to intimidate you by making you feel so uncomfortable by the staring until you cave. The setup. Now, I had my fair share of awful managers, to the point where if I didn't need the money, I would have walked right out right then and there and never returned. And I had my fair share of good managers. Douchebag was somewhere in the middle, leaning more towards the walking out. Now, with me, I'll admit. Over the years I developed a sassy, sarcastic personality. I'm blunt, no filter, say what's on mind, and I don't put up with people's bullsh*t. Apparently, Douchebag never got the memo of my not taking people's bullsh*t. Around this time, summer was ending, meaning we were in the now hiring stage, and many positions were starting to open up in the store. Keep this in mind. What Douchebag did to get me to start my ProRevenge. Strike 1. I had out-of-patient vein surgery done one of my legs, and needed to take a few days off. Since I had some vacation time saved up, I used my hours for those few days that I didn't have to worry so much about not getting paid. Douchebag called me a day before I was supposed to come and asking if I can do a 9-to-1. I asked him 3 times over the phone, who's closing, because originally I was supposed to close the day until I got my approval for my days off. Douchebag never answered me, so I just figured they had it covered. I came in, and of course halfway through my shift Douchebag calls me over and says that they don't have a closer. Keep in mind that I asked him 3 times over the phone who was closing. Douchebag wanted me to clock out, go home for a few hours, and then come to work and close. I said no, and then he tried the whole guilt tripping about not having anyone, and that we really need you to this. I said no because 1, I'm really tired and just came off surgery like 3 days ago. 2, I already made plans with my husband for the evening. Of course Douchebag didn't like this, because the next time I came to work, Douchebag was just being petty and passive-aggressive with me. Basically, he will either pretend I wasn't there, ignored me, or the transaction that he was doing was taking longer than it should, and then chastise me in front of the customers for taking too long to get him. When I had my follow-up appointment with the vein doctor, Douchebag asked me if I can come earlier. I told him no, I can't because I have a doctor's appointment in the morning that day. Then he did his usual, well, need you to do it anyway, and started to doing that stare with me. Unfortunately for him, I'm used to this when came to Karen's and Kevin's trying to intimidate me because something didn't come right. I quickly shut that down by getting the other cashier's attentions when they need help with something, or quickly grabbed a customer's attention. When I came in after my appointment, Douchebag with a smug grin very loudly in earshot of the big wigs from corporate visiting that day. Well, OP, looks like you noticed that I didn't call you in because we didn't need you. I replied, good, because wasn't able to come in early anyway. Strike 2. Remember how I said that the store had openings? Well, turns out customer service needed some help, and the only way to get there was to ask your manager. So, I went to Douchebag and asked about being at the customer service desk. With everything that I've already been doing, I was basically the front-end assistant manager without the pay and title. Douchebag said that he would get back to me, especially since I've been doing great job. 2 to 3 weeks later, I'm seeing people that I trained or have started months after I did getting promoted to customer service desk while I stayed as a cashier with all the others' responsibilities piled on top. The customer service desk position would have easily been a 0.50 cent raise. The monitor position would have been a 0.75 cent raise. And of course Douchebag didn't want to pay more for doing the exact same thing that I was already doing. I was starting to get the message of why pay for the cow when the milk is free? Strike 3. I was starting to look for another job at this point, because I was getting sick and tired of how I was being treated, but I wanted to try and give this guy one last chance. So, I found out that the seafood department in my store had an opening, and I even talked to the seafood department manager Debbie about me possibly being in her department. He was ecstatic to have, and was willing to work around my college schedule. I had to talk to my manager Douchebag in order to get the transfer going. I talked to Douchebag, and he started to come up with any and all kinds of excuses to not have me transfer. I quickly shot that down, and even the one where he tried to say that I can't because another coworker was transferring. First time I've heard of this, but the coworker said they had no problem with me going. So, I thought that was that, right? Wrong. 3 to 4 weeks have passed, and I've been getting nowhere with the whole transferring to the other department. Even Debbie was wondering why it was taking so long for get to the seafood department, and why management was dragging their feet with this. Turns out, Douchebag blocked my transfer, and they wound up hiring a new employee to the seafood department. Douchebag thought that if there was no positions available, and he can just deny my transfer, that I have no choice but to stay. After an argument between the two of us about this, because I was calling him out on his bullsh*t, Douchebag said the magic words. Just do your job. Cue the malicious compliance. Just do my job? Okay. I was so glad that the wearing a mask was required. Otherwise, Douchebag might have seen my evil smile when I agreed to just do my job. Need an override? Sorry, but I'm not management nor am I a monitor, so I can't do that. Let me go grab someone who can. Need change? Sorry, but I'm not management nor am I a monitor, so I can't do that. Let me go grab someone who can. Need something behind the customer service desk? Sorry, but I'm not trained nor am I customer service. Let me grab someone who can get that for you. Douchebag was at his wit's end and even tried to write up for something. I quickly shut that down when I started to recite what being a cashier entails and what my actual job of being a cashier is. And I told him that if he wants me to continue with all those responsibilities, that he needs to promote me so I can do all those responsibilities. He quickly stepped back into being his passive-aggressive behavior that I quickly shut down. I eventually found another job with a better pay and better benefits, and handed in my resignation of me leaving in 10 days. That douchebag tried to deny and say, "No, you have to give us 2 weeks' notice." I quickly shut that down with a response, "You wouldn't be giving us a 2-week notice if you're going to fire us. Or lay us off or let go. Just a 2-minute warning." Cue the petty revenge. Now, you're probably wondering, what could I have possibly do for the petty revenge, right? Well, there was an old saying, never kill the golden goose. Well, readers, what do you think happens to a department that is solely dependable on one person whose reputation is Mrs. Reliable? Need me to come in on my day off? Sorry, I can't. I have plans. Need me to stay late? Sorry, I can't, I already made plans. Some called out? Sorry, I can't make it. I did this throughout my entire rest of my stay at that place. Douchebag couldn't do anything about either, and it was starting to get to him on what happens when you rely heavily on someone else, but treat them so badly that they actually decide to leave. Douchebag's performance, because I wasn't there to cover his as, was starting to take a toll. He had to do so much now, of his own responsibilities, and there wasn't a thing he could do to me. He kept trying to be extra passive-aggressive with me, to which I just smiled and waved and said goodbye to everyone but him. Now this wouldn't be a pro-revenge without the pro-revenge. After talking to a friend of mine about what happened when I worked there, he told me to report this to the district manager because that kind of behavior isn't good for the workplace. Cue the pro-revenge. I got the email address of the district manager from my friend, and then I went back to the store as a customer. I kept in touch with a couple of my old coworkers and kept asking them how they were doing, and how's work going. None of them had a problem in venting to me on how bad things were getting with Douchebag. I asked if they didn't mind if I put their name in the complaint, or if they just wanted to be anonymous. A lot of them chose the latter. I whipped out my phone, used the quick memo app that I had, and quickly wrote the notes in my phone, the date, and the register that the cashier was on at the time. I sent that email with the attached notes, and with the entire account on my part as well, to the district manager. Now, this wouldn't be a pro-revenge if it just stopped there. I took a step further. You see, with the receipts that we get, there is a survey on the bottom of every receipt, and management kept trying to boost us to get customers to take the survey, because it helped with the story front and all the points that the store gets. Well, here's the thing about that survey: when you fill out the survey including the comments, everyone gets to see it. And I mean everyone, Douchebag, the assistant store manager, the regional manager, the district manager, and the representative of Cooperate gets to see it all. So, you can imagine what I did. Needed a snack for school? Filled out the survey. Needed groceries? Filled out the survey. Needed a drink? Filled out the survey. I went to that store multiple times and gotten so many different surveys, because there wasn't a limit for how many you can fill out. And I made sure to put everything that Douchebag was doing on all those surveys, including how he treated his employees. 3 months after I left, the person they hired back in seafood to make sure I couldn't go back there quit. 6 months after I left, Douchebag was nowhere to found. A new manager took over for him, and no one seems to know what happened to Douchebag.